Good morning, welcome to Nigeria Now, showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, that is the TOS Television Network. My name is Merciful Ajinomo. On the front pages of the newspapers this morning, there are big stories, and of course, we know that NDLEA is set to test presidential aspirants, which includes Osinbajo and others, and also some election stories, and also some other stories that Mr. Adebayo will be joining us to analyze this morning. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back here.
Good to have you. We begin from the leadership newspaper, and the big story there is presidential screening. NDLEA wants drug test for Osinbajo, Tinubu, Amici, other aspirants. That is on page 4. The writer says, Rights APC leadership says PDP aspirant others to follow. Yahya Bello, Nwajuba pick 100 million naira nomination forms, a motion to declare next week. And Amici meets Southeast delegate in Owerri. What do you make of this demand from the NDLEA to test presidential aspirants for drugs?
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea, and it's going to further show us and further, paint to us, the persona of each aspirant. Because, in Nigeria, nothing is impossible, like I used to say. So nothing absolutely is impossible. We have seen, a former speaker, of the House of Representatives in Nigeria, involved, in certificate racketeering. And eventually, the same person was given presidential pardon. So, and all of that. So, nothing is impossible. So, I think it's going to make, these people to be accountable, to be, to put them on horses and, to further, to serve as a sign of to give a sense of responsibility because if you are caught, if this test is being done and if you are caught, of course I want to believe that Nigerians will not want to vote for somebody who is a drug addict, who will be caught in that kind of habit. And if necessary action is being taken against whoever is being confirmed to have indulged in that act, of course I'm very sure that it's going to serve as deterrent to others who are coming up. It's going to be a very good idea if this can be properly done, and whoever is being caught face the wrath of law.
Definitely. That is on the leadership newspaper. And of course, it's on page 4. From the very top, troops kill 30 terrorists. Explosion claims 3 soldiers in Katsina State. We'll get back to this leadership newspaper, but let's go to the Nation newspaper. The big story there is 2023 battle for tickets pits governors against senators. And that's the big story there. 2 riders. The first, tension in state over slot. And the second, parties' moderate struggle for positions. And that is on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. From the very top, ministers insist no resignation before primary. And that is on page 4. And besides that, let's seek foreign aid to free abducted train passengers. That's on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. I will move over to, of course, the Punch newspaper. And the big story on the Punch newspaper this morning is Electoral Act, more commissioners step down as Buhari's ministers refuse to go. And that is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And of course, that is the same story with the Nation newspaper from the very top there on page 4. Ministers insisting no resignation before primary. We had this conversation 2 days ago talking about the fact that people that are supposed to, participate in the election to be voted for are supposed to, step down per the rule for the Electoral Act. And now we're having Nigerian ministers refusing to, step down before the primary. What do you make of this deliberate attitude by these people?
So I think the party needs to be very decisive, and enforce this thing, because you cannot. It is disgusting when you have leaders who are supposed to lead by example, who are supposed to abide by the Electoral Act, daring everybody and saying, see, we are not going to resign when the law has taken its position. Even though you are not satisfied, and court has not even said otherwise about this thing. So I think what is expected of them is at least abide by this thing. And when the court says otherwise, of course you can now, but at least this is what we have on the table at the moment. Is if you want to buy, if you want to participate in any party activity concerning aspiration and all of that, you have to resign. and go after your aspiration. But then they have not done that. So if, like I said about, I mean, 2 days ago, when we spoke about this, if I see any of these people, I'm talking of my, I mean, and this is just my personal opinion. So if I see any of these persons coming out, in fact, they are automatically disqualified, because I never want to see somebody who will never want to. Because if you cannot obey law now, so what hope do I have that when you get there you are going to obey the law? So this is not right, and I think the party has the power to enforce it on them, and whoever do not abide, of course, should face the consequences.
Definitely, I agree with you on that one. On Nigerian News Direct paper from the very top, Senate wants slave trade center in Bayelsa upgraded to National Museum. And then Yahya Bello says, I will restore hope to Nigerians come 2023 election. UBA post 18% growth in earnings as profit hits 44.5 billion naira. The big story there is Osinbajo, Tinubu, Atiku, Amechi, others may undergo drug test. Security experts say proposal will strengthen fight against drug trafficking, sanitize political scene. That is on page 3 of the Nigerian News Direct paper. On the national economy, the big story is Nigeria achieves 3.3 trillion naira capital retention in all sector as local content grows to 42%. And then from the very top, access economic interventions to promote financial stability, CBN urges Nigerians. That is on page 4 of the national economy. We move over back to the leadership newspaper, and besides the picture of the day, the first story there is Senate amends Terrorism Act, bans payment of ransom. Talking about insecurity and seeing what has happened in Nigeria in the past couple of years, I would say, and how this payment of ransom thing has been. And we've seen victims' footages, video footage of victims talking about how they were saved from the kidnappers' den. Now we're seeing Senate amending Terrorism Act and banning payment of ransom. Is this good for Nigeria or bad for Nigeria?
Now, if the government says, okay, it is bad to be paying ransom, that it's going to further, reinforce or encourages, that act. The question is, what mechanism, what strategy, what idea do we have or we are putting in place to ensure that we curb this menace, and to ensure that whoever indulge or kidnap or abduct anybody will be caught, and we face the full wrath of law? Because whoever is a victim of this act, they want to go extra mile to do everything possible to ensure that they rescue either their friend, their mother, their family members, and the rest like that, or children. So now, before this can be fully implemented, or before it can be before it can be accepted, I think we need to do more of putting our security architecture in the proper perspective, to ensure that we have a viable and a very strong security architecture that can guarantee security of lives and property every Nigerian. Because if you say people should not pay ransom, who wishes to do that in the first place? Nobody ever wishes to
pay ransom,
because this money are huge, and at the end of the day, some of these people, after collecting the ransom, they'll be killed. So it is better imagine that experience. Is what nobody prays to experience. But I think before this can be giving a kudos, I think there is much for them to do to ensure that there is security of lives and property, and whoever indulges in this dastard act will be caught and face the consequence.
Yeah, definitely on that one. That was on page 6 of the leadership newspaper, talking about security of life and property. We'll see Zamfara deposes 2 emirs, district head over banditry. Zamfara deposes 2 emirs, district head over banditry. That's in page 8 of the leadership newspaper. From the very top, still talking insecurity, troops kill 30 terrorists, explosion claims 3 soldiers in Katsina. That's on page 6. And besides that, in Kaduna, train attack victims spend 30 days in captivity. That story is on page 8 of the leadership newspaper. On Daily Trust newspaper, the big story is disqualification threat, how APC guidelines put Amechi, Ngige, Malami, others in tight corner. We have 3 riders. The first, aspirants have 72 hours to resign, and Labour Minister says, I'm not aware of new rules. Noah Juba pays 100 million naira for presidential forms that is on, of course, Daily Trust newspaper. And we see 2023, why aspirants must undergo drug test before primaries, says NDLEA. That story is on page 11 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Thank you so much, Adiba, for joining us today on this edition of Nigeria Now.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, viewers, for staying tuned. Don't forget, you can always stay updated on our website, www.tostvnetwork.com. And also our social media platform, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The handle is at TOSTV Network. For more updates, of course, on these news and many more in Nigeria and across Africa. My name is Merciful Ajinmo. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.